35 tours and expeditions. And he's going to just talk a little bit about the South America and Central America.
I'm here.
Yes.
Vicky's on mute right now. She'll unmute in a second as well, but we have her live from Cartagena as well. Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. I can see everybody. It looks fantastic. I wish I could be there. And really, we have a treat for you. You know, we get asked all the time about where's opening up, and South America is, for the most part, opened up. So especially the Andean countries, so Ecuador, Peru, Colombia is opened up. In Central America, Costa Rica, Panama, Belize, Guatemala have opened up, and several countries actually in South America. Ecuador is one of them. Guatemala is another one that are now allowing passengers with a vaccine to bypass the PCR testing to get in. Colombia is one of the destinations that still requires PCR testing. However, it's very easy to get in. I'm actually heading there at the end of June with my family. But we thought we'd show you something really special. So I'd like to introduce you to Vicky. And Vicky is on mute right now. So Vicky, if you want to unmute yourself, you'll hear good. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning. How are you?
So we have a treat. Those of you know that Angela and Eric and the family were on an around the world trip back in 2019. Well, one of their last stops was actually in Cartagena, and it was with Vicky. So we thought, what better way this morning to start off right where you guys left off, and that's where Vicky is in Gethsemane right now. So Vicky is one of our guides in Cartagena. We have a nickname for her called Hormiga Atomica. She is a big ball of energy. She has a smile that can light up a room, which hopefully you'll see at one point. I'm going to be handing it over to Vicky to show you Cartagena. She's going to be showing you the street art. Specifically because in many cities in South America, a lot of the graffiti, a lot of the street art is actually taking over. And it's being sanctioned by the city to beautify, to tell stories, and you actually get a whole element of history through the street art. So Vicky, I'll turn it over to you. Why don't we show these people what street art really looks like in Cartagena?
So, good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you. I wanted to start here in this mural in Gethsemane, which is an authentic neighborhood of Cartagena where you can experience the architecture, the history, plus the culture, which is really important. And I wanted to show you this mural that is called Mulata. Cartagena and Colombia is a multicultural place. Mulata is actually the mix of the African with the Spaniards that we had in here. It's a mixture of races. And I wanted to show you, besides the mural, the architecture of this area. We decided to start in here because this is like one of my favorite places, because I believe that not only you have to see the touristic sides of the places, but also where the local people live. And what a better way to do it than Gethsemane. This place is a mixture of history, because from here we started the independence of Cartagena. It's a mixture of culture, because it is the only side of the old city where you can find local people living in their homes, their daily life. Also, that's the area where like all the cultural events are taking place. Here you can see one of the wooden balconies of the old city. And something really unique and important that we have in the old city is that all of these houses you can see around here, they were built between the 1600s till the 1800s, till the end of the 1800s. And we have been able to preserve our architecture. So if you break those walls, you find the original materials of the houses. And that's something that is really, really fun. We are trying to keep like a lot of colorful houses around here, so the area can feel more like alive. And we are heading to the main square of Gethsemane, which is the area where people sit down to enjoy the sweetness of doing nothing, to relax. You can see the main church. That is the main church of Gethsemane. And the murals around, people sitting. It is as it doesn't look so hot in the picture because it's clouded, it's been raining. But right now we are in about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite a little bit hot, really, really nice.
So it's just like Florida. And Mark, this is actually to entice you and the family to come down as well. So there's that aspect of it too. And what we wanted to show all of you is you can see that even, Colombia and Cartagena is 1 hour behind. So at 8:45 in the morning, you can see the city is still very much alive. There are people around, there are people going to work, restaurants will be opening up later on today. And there's a real beauty to it. And we wanted to show you Cartagena because all of you sitting in the room, you're so close to the city of San Augustine and to the forts and the history that's there. Well, Cartagena and the old city is similar to it in some ways and actually not similar in other ways. One of the best parts about Cartagena is the food. There is so much to experience in terms of food. Vicky, we actually have done this together. We take people on different experiences to learn about ceviche and different types of food. Can we talk about the food a bit as well?
Yeah, the food in this area is delicious. I mean, I love eating. Like Colombia doesn't have like a main dish, but the country is divided by regions. So depending on the region, that's what we get. In Cartagena, we get a lot of seafood. Like our typical plate is the coconut rice with deep fried plantains that we call patacon and fish. So that's like the main. But in Cartagena, in the old city, I think that there is not a bad place to eat we because we are so open for tourism. We got like different choices. You can find from the highest gourmet restaurant to the most local. So food in here is like a really good thing to try, especially if you learn cooking with the experiences that we do, because you learn the real local cuisine and you learn to cook the recipes that I will cook at home, for example. So gastronomy here is really diverse. I will say we have a lot to offer when it comes to food and culinary.
Well,
So I want
sorry, Vicky. And what I was going to share is obviously what's on everybody's mind is, well, isn't Colombia famous for drugs and Pablo Escobar and the cartels? Why would anybody want to go there? And it's interesting because that does come up a lot. We were one of the first companies to enter into Colombia in 2006. And I remember when I first went down there, the look I got from my own family was, "Are you nuts? What are you thinking?" I have to tell you that when I first got down there, I fell in love with the whole country, and I was all over. And I fell in love with it, not because it was ready for tourism, but because it really felt like a sleeping giant. Well, we started operations in 2006, and right around 2009, it just took off like a bottle rocket, where everybody really wanted to go. And Colombia represents a destination that actually is a full transformation from what it was to what it became. I'll give you an example. The mayor of Cartagena, his name is William Dow. He actually is Colombian. He left 14 years ago because of what was happening in Colombia. He went to New York, became an associate with BlackRock. He's now come back and is now the mayor of Cartagena. And his son, Abraham, runs this place called El Arsenal, which is really cool for rum, and where Angela and Eric and the family ended up with a really amazing dinner and tasting and whatnot. Videos that we have fond memories of. But you could see on the streets all the murals that you're looking at and everything that Vicky is showing you. Each one tells a story. Each one is done by a local artist, and these artists are not going around just tagging walls. Some of these artists are college students. Some of these artists are professional architects. Some of them are professional engineers, professional executives. This is something that the city actually wants. They want a story told. And you can see what you're looking at is these old city walls that date back to the 16th, 15th century, even before in some cases as well. I'll never forget one of the first times I actually had gone to Cartagena, I accidentally fell down a flight of stairs and into a well that was from the 1600s. That's now a wine cellar. And all sorts of pockets like that open up. So, Vicky, we're walking past a lot of this art, and you're looking past this wall. What can you tell us about that wall and some of the art that we just saw? Vicky, you have to unmute. Oh, where do we go? Vicky, you have to unmute. Well, while she's doing that, she'll unmute in a second, and then we'll be able to talk about this. So part of what she's heading to right now, there she goes. Okay, Vicky, go ahead. We're on that street now. Let's talk about some of the art we're looking at.
Yeah, so this one is really important, especially because we do salsa experience. This is the mural of one of the most famous salsa singers in Colombia, and that is El Joy, who was an Afro-descendant singer. He's really popular. Actually, if you're interested in about learning about the culture and the music of Colombia, you can find him on YouTube with the Joe, Joy. He's a really good, famous salsa singer. Here we can see more murals around. I love Hexamani. You know, it's really important to see that people in here, they love taking care of the area and they love taking care of the visitors, because sometimes people tell you, like, as you say, like, are you really going there? Yes. Yes, you gotta come here to witness the evolution and the change. And you will find out that if you come here, the only risk is wanting to stay. And you know, Cartagena has been doing an amazing job reopening for tourism. I just work with a group, and you know, everything is working perfectly. We are really taking care of the visitors. Everywhere we go, people are, you know, like cleaning and putting their mask on. So we are open for tourism, yes. We are taking care of our people, and our mayor, as you mentioned, he's awesome. And he's been doing a beautiful job taking care of the city and reopening for tourism. I am heading now to the Rombots.
Yep.
That is my home.
So
So
that's a place that's going to look very familiar to Angela and Eric and Mark when next time you're there. But we have to stop for a second because we're at somewhere famous right now. So Vicky, let's stop right here and let's actually head towards Carolina's place. Where she's heading, those purple doors, it's a place called Ulala. If you are interested in learning how to make the best ceviche in town, this is the place to do it. So Vicky, let's talk about Carolina and the restaurant of Ulala. I know it's closed right now. It's opening up later on today, but you love coming here. Let's talk about what she does.
So Carolina is a Colombian woman. She wanted to be a chef, and she went to France. Then after she worked over there, she married a Frenchman and came back to Cartagena. What is interesting and what I love from this idea is that she supports women. She supports women. She goes to a farmer market and she buys directly from the farmers, especially women. And then she makes everything in here. But the good thing is that with the pandemic, all of these people had a struggle, and she's been always finding a way to give them a hand. She believes that society have to empower women in our daily days. So she was able to bring the women of the market, because they were not making good business there, down to the old city, to that area. And for like when she got the cooking class and for her restaurant.
What makes it very special is just that the fact that you've got a great place for ceviche, a great place, and and actually when I go in June, I'll be eating there as well. She's such a nice lady, and she just makes you feel at home. And the fact that you can go and learn to cook that while being there and hands-on, you're helping underprivileged women in open markets to be able to create a gainful income to provide their families. See, the power of tourism is more than just showing you a city. That type of transformation is what led Colombia to where it is today. You know, I call Colombia a modern miracle all the time. And there are two other countries that I call a modern miracle. I call Rwanda and Uganda modern miracles as well. The reason being, if you look at their history, you look at Colombia's history going back to the 80s. Obviously, we all watched Narcos. We've all read papers. We all know the history of Colombia. How do you get from that to where we are today? Well, you simply transform the country and you put tourism as one of the main exports. Today in Colombia, tourism is one of the top 5 exports. It is actually more popular than coffee and only second to oil in terms of an export. It's also a destination that has gone all in. Many of the people that you'll meet when you're in Colombia, you know, Cartagena was very tourism focused, but you go to other places like Medellin, for example, you will meet people who actually had a history with the guerrillas, with the FARCs, with the cartels that have now shifted to tourism to be able to actually provide for their family in a safer environment, in an environment that's more sustainable, in an environment that allows them to go home. So your visit does more than just provide a job. It actually provides hope, and it actually provides a continuation of that transformation. And that's really what's special. And as you can see, right now where Vicky is, she's coming out to the outskirts of Gethsemane. Where she is, there's a Four Seasons coming in right there. There's there's two Four Seasons in Bogota. There's a third one opening up right here in Cartagena next year. And this continuation has happened all along. There is so much one can do here. For example, even salsa. You can go into underprivileged areas to learn how to salsa. There was one particular student that we worked with as a teacher. He actually started in the inner city, and he actually got so good, he actually performed at Carnegie Hall, and he was able to get there, and that's special. So now we're on Arsenal Street. We're on Arsenal Street right now, and we're heading to the Rumbox. And Angela and Eric and her family, when they were here, they actually ended with their last night of their round the world trip before they left Colombia was at this spot right here. They actually had a rum tasting here. They had dinner here, and the chef here, Abraham, who I mentioned to you, is friends with both Vicky and I. We both called this place home because of how talented Abraham is. So Abraham actually took a cake and he baked it. He took a picture of the entire Pearson family and he baked it into the cake. So when you had this, it showed everywhere they had been. Now, I want to stop for a second and tell you a really powerful story of transformation within here as well. So what Vicky is showing you right now is truffles. During the pandemic, Abraham perfected how to make truffles to the point where we have some guests that are arriving in June, and one of them is actually graduating to college. The logo of his university is going to be baked into those truffles. He's that good. But the transformation goes beyond that. When these countries shut down, Abraham, through the help of his father with the Navy, he actually got everybody mobilized, us, Vicky, and everybody beyond that. And I'm very proud, and I tell the story all the time, that since March of last year, because of this mobilization, we helped his cause feed 100,000 people in less than a year that were impoverished overnight because of the pandemic. We helped bring them groceries, bring them food, and now we're starting to re-employ them, bring them back, give them employment, to give them a day's wage to go out. It wasn't because we had to do it. It's because we wanted to. And that's a moral responsibility that we have as a company, and why we love working with the guys like Mark Gerling and with Angela and Eric, because they believe in the same things we do, in the focus of saying that tourism is not a right, it's a responsibility, it's a privilege. And when you are coming to a place like Cartagena, we're not just showing you, okay, here's a museum, here's this, here's a tour bus. We're taking you out and walking through the city the way Vicky's walking right now. She will show you the city the way you're seeing it right now. This is a city that you could be walking around at midnight with no problem. And that's the best part about Cartagena in terms of the experience. It's also one where it's always hot. It never gets cold. It's always hot. It's raining or not. So the climate is very similar to what we experience in Florida in terms of humidity. So when you come here, you're expected to feel heat, but everything is air conditioned indoors. And we want you to feel completely comfortable wherever you are. So it's a very laid back environment in terms of this. Vicky, when we go through, you are now walking in, between Gethsemane and the Old City. Let's talk about where you are and just the architecture of what we're seeing.
So here you can see that church at the end. All of that area as the church and the building, that was a convent. The church is still active, but the convent became a university. But nowadays you can see, like, far behind that building, the construction of the Four Seasons. So that's the construction of the Four Seasons that is going on in there. And we are heading out of Gethsemane to the Old City. So to the other part of the Old City, because Cartagena is divided in two islands. Calamari for the Spaniards and their kids, and then Gethsemane for the native people. So all of this area used to be water. They did a landfill to join the two islands. I think that now you can see closer the construction of the Four Seasons Hotel. And since you were mentioning about how we support people during our travel, I think it's really important that we remember the experience that we have at La Boquilla, how they have stopped using plastic for the strokes that you donate them every year, how they have been losing their culture, and we are supporting their foundation, taking people there. So during the performance they do, and during the drum classes that we have been offering, they have been able to teach their kids all what belongs to the African heritage, so they preserve it. So also we are helping the people to preserve their culture, taking people there. So when you are traveling, you are not just like, you don't know where everything is going. We are supporting the communities. And as a native person, I feel really proud of that, because you can see how you can help people by traveling. So you can see over there the Centenary Park that was built for our 100 years of independence. And here you get to see the most iconic picture of Cartagena, which is the clock tower. Like always, you Google Cartagena, the clock tower comes out. And that is so important because that was the only access to the city for people. And through the gate of the clock tower, we were taking African slaves in. We were one of the most important African slave ports in South America, because the slave came from Ghana and all the west of Africa down to Brazil, and then from Brazil to Cartagena. And that's why, if you see my face, you can see it now, I am Afro descendant. And most of the people here, we are. And that is because the Europeans brought the African slave and they were getting into the city through the clock tower. And you can see the contrast between modern buildings and the old city. You know?
Yeah, and I'll share, what Vicky's showing you right now, she's going past, that's the type of history you see. It's not just the Portuguese. It's not just the Spanish. There's an ancestry that goes beyond that as well. In terms of this environment, and La Boquilla that Vicky's talking about, this is a fishing community that was getting a lot of cruise passengers coming in, and so there were plastic straws everywhere. So every time we go to Colombia, so when Mark or Angela or Eric or any of you come and we're there together, every year we donate 2,000 paper straws to them to be able to use, so that because they have no recycling way, no system of recycling those plastic straws, they end up just throwing it on the ground. And what ends up doing is those straws get into the water and they end up strangling some of the mangroves, and then the fishing becomes challenged as well. So this actually helps that as well. The story of that village is actually really great. It was actually an Italian Air Force pilot that had retired to Cartagena. And these kids who I met back in 2010, 2011, they're 5, 6 years old, and they speak Italian, Spanish, and English. And it's really quite amazing. Now, where Vicky is heading to right now, as we approach the end of our experience, this is that iconic clock tower. When you see pictures of Cartagena, so if you go home this evening and you Google Cartagena, or you start looking at pictures of Cartagena in different books and catalogs and online, you're going to see this cathedral everywhere. This is the main star. This is the iconic part of the city. So as Vicky was saying, she's now taking you from one side of the city to the other. And this, what you see right now, much like St. Augustine, that you guys are near, this is the wall outside that old city. This is what the wall looks like. So Vicky's going to head inside the wall now. Let's go ahead and head in. And when we get in, we'll stop and we'll see if anybody has any questions and hand it back over to Eric and Angela and Mark. But we'll just have her go right in, and you can see what she was talking about. While she's doing this, if any of you are readers, the national treasure in Cartagena is an author by the name of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. A lot of his books they're tough reads, but they're amazing books. One of them is called Life of Cholera. The other one is called 100 Years of Solitude. And what you're seeing in front of us right now, what you see is women here. Vicky, let's stop right there and talk about what that woman is wearing and what she's dressed like. So I'll just have you unmute and discuss that.
So what we can see here, those ladies, the colorful dress, they are called palenqueras. And as I was mentioning, we had African slaves. And they were slaves in here until 1886 pretty much. But a group of slaves by the early 1600s was able to escape. And they founded a town about an hour from Cartagena called Palenque. They were the first town free of the Americas that still keep the language and the culture. And they have been recognized by the UNESCO in 2005 for preserving their gastronomy, their culture, their language. They speak Bantu, and when someone is born, they cry because they believe that you come to this life to suffer. And then if you die, they will play a music called Lumbalu because they believe that the music is the connection between the death and the life. And playing this music, the soul of the person goes back to Africa. We have had people that have been visiting that area, and you get to experience how a native community can stay there 100% complete and how they preserve all of their belief. Actually, I was there a couple of week ago and I did my hair braiding. You know that this is really African, the hair braiding. I went with Angela's daughters to make our hair braiding. I don't know if you remember that, but that shows the braiding on the Africans' hair was really important because they used to make maps or escaping roads on their braidings. So somebody made the exit road, and then people will see it and they know which road to take to get out of the city or to escape from Spaniards. So that people around here, they represent the African influence. They represent the first town free of slavery in America, and they represent what we are. So you will see those ladies around. They charge for the picture, yes, but that's something that you take with you, and that's one of the most if you come to Cartagena.
Well, Vicky, I wanted to say thank you for showing us around Cartagena. And Mark, I'll hand it back over to you, see if anybody has any questions, or if you'd like us to show anything particular in Cartagena, that because this is a complete live feed, it's not pre-recorded. So if we want Vicky to make a U-turn and head somewhere to show you something, we're happy to do that as well. So Mark, back over to you.
Thanks, Ashish.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Great to learn a little bit about South America, Colombia, Argentina, and we're going to do our very best to gather up some troops and get them over there for some good tourism experiences. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time this morning. Have a great day, everybody.